Attorney General Justin Muturi revealed how President William Ruto plans to expand parliament to accommodate the leader of the official opposition and the deputy. First, the law will be tinkered with to increase the number of MPs to 418 and have the runner-up and the deputy as automatic members of parliament. In a legal change that Muturi argues does not require a referendum, the constitution will be amended to designate the runner-up in a presidential poll and the deputy as the minority leader. The AG, the government's chief legal advisor, says that if the plan sails through, then that would see Azimio boss Raila Odinga and his deputy Martha Karua lead their troops in parliament.
Coming to the issue of the creation of the position of leader of opposition, I still maintain and hold the view that the approach we are taking is not proper. It's not proper. My position has been that if indeed we think the time is ripe for reviewing the Constitution, which I strongly believe it is, then we must take a holistic view of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, because it's now more than 12 years since its promulgation in 2010. It's indeed ripe for review. But we can't do it through cherry picking, through patchwork. That will not be proper.
Article 108 of the Constitution states, there shall be a leader of the majority party and a leader of the minority party. It explains that the leader of the majority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly of the largest party or coalition of party. The leader of the minority party shall be the person who is the leader in the National Assembly of the second largest party or coalition.
I have also asked many times and I've gotten no answers as to what is it that we want to achieve by creating this position of leader of official opposition, whilst retaining intact the structure that we have currently, which is purely presidential. What, for instance, will be the role of the leader of official opposition vis-a-vis the role of the leader of minority party, for instance? And nobody is giving me any answers. I said, and I still want to repeat, that we must choose what we want to do. Agree to abolish this presidential system and go parliamentary route, or retain this presidential system with all its attributes without attempting to create a mongrel in the name of amendment to the Constitution. We cannot, as Kenyans, continue to appear as if we don't know what we want, and yet we really know what we want.
The members of parliament will amend the section that provides for the hierarchy in the National Assembly.
The President did mention it because it's part of what he intends to do in the course of time. There is therefore no prioritization. I can't tell you that we will rank it first. If anything, the President doesn't prioritize work for Parliament. The House Business Committee in Parliament prioritizes business to come before Parliament.
I don't want us to engage.
Constitution says, and I quote, the following order of precedence shall be observed in the National Assembly: the Speaker, the leader of the majority party, and the leader of the minority party.
This is a decoy to introduce another amendments to the Constitution, including abolishment of two-term presidential term limit. And he's using the opposition. He wants to lie to us as Mio so that we support it. And at the end, we will be supporting an abolishment to a two-term limit. It will entice the governors, it will entice the members of parliament. When you tell governors that there will be no two-term, they will support. You tell members of parliament that the CDF will be in the constitution, they will support. You tell the members of opposition that there will be an opposition leader, they will support. And then you sneak in abolishment of two-term limit. We are aware of the machinations. We will not allow the creation of office of the opposition leader. He can create it and put in status. We don't want it.
We as the party that is in the ruling government, we are ready to support it. If they shoot it down, that is up to them. That means they want to make noise on the street, and we are not for that. We are for the growth of the country.
The idea of the leader of opposition. Mr. Speaker, this is a bad idea. It is an idea that is not well founded, either in terms of constitutionalism or in terms of purpose. And it does not take cognizance of Article 108 and Article 130.
The run-up and the deputy will be facilitated to keep the government in check. Muturi said, and I quote, "The offices of the majority and minority are heavily facilitated by the Parliamentary Service Commission. The second presidential candidate in the last general election can take up the minority leadership slot in the National Assembly and their running mate the same slot in the Senate."
Let's be clear, Mr. Speaker. In this House, there is no government, there is no opposition, as per the Constitution. If you look at Article 130, national government comprises the President, the Deputy, and the Cabinet, not the Leader of Majority, not any of you here in Parliament. And when we come here as minority, we don't come here as opposition, we come as minority. The word opposition does not appear anywhere in the text of the Constitution. So how can you introduce a leader of an non-existent entity? Honorable Wanyonyi, I'm telling you now, I'm helping you understand the law, so just listen. That idea is precipitated on a misinformation and misunderstanding that those who are in the majority are here on behalf of the executive, and those in the minority are here on behalf of the opposition. That is not so. In fact, the whole idea of this presidential system is that we as a parliament check on the executive as a collectivity. The moment you start trying to bring the leader of opposition, you run into many problems. The first problem is you can actually have a parliament where the majority has not produced the presidency. Can you imagine a situation where if we had maintained what we believe is ours, Azimio is the majority in this House, and Kenya Kwanza is the minority? Can you imagine a situation where then Azimio would have the presidency, then you get another person who is in Azimio to come be the leader of Kenya Kwanza in Parliament? Isn't that ridiculous? It is based on the assumption that whoever produces a majority in Parliament will always be the president. It is not so. Secondly, if you look at 108, there's the leader of majority, there's the leader of minority. So I suppose you then remove the leader of minority and replace it with the leader of opposition. And what do you do with the leader of majority? Do you still call him or her leader of majority? You'll call them leader of government business, and there's no government in Parliament.
The former speaker is relying on the interpretation that his proposal does not alter the function of Parliament, a key ingredient for a referendum.
Ile mimi nilikataa ni kwamba tuendelee na ile mambo ya zamani ya kujaribu kuchanganya upinzani na serikali, ikosekane mtu wa kusema mambo yameenda kombo.
The Constitution says, and I quote, "A proposed amendment to this Constitution shall be enacted in accordance with Article 256 or 257 and approved in accordance with clause bracket 2 by a referendum if the amendment relates to the functions of Parliament." End of quote.
If we want a parliamentary system, let us be honest and adopt that system. I will tell you that in the Committee of Experts, we had actually adopted a parliamentary system, but it was changed by our colleagues in Parliament then. I'll move very fast, Mr. Speaker, just 2 minutes. The question of cabinet secretaries in Parliament, there will be strangers. The President is not a stranger because he's allowed. The head of Treasury comes here as of necessity because we are the budget making. But the cabinet secretary does not come to the floor of this House. The cabinet secretary stays at the bar. So if you want cabinet secretaries on the floor of this House, then you must admit them as members of parliament. That changes the numbers, that changes the functions. And is it a good thing? No. First, because you will definitely weaken the committee system. Our constitution gives committees so many powers, the powers of the High Court, which have never been used. Why haven't we used them? If we can't use them as 15 or 20 people sitting and we have the power, what is the assurance that as over 349 we will use them?
For Maisha Prime, Maisha Television, I'm Busha Bejonia.